evolution is also an optimization process. It is trying to optimize the fitness of organisms against the background of environment. And also like machine learning, there's a lot of optimization. And a curious thing about optimization processes is that turns out that you can do, quite often you can produce very fit systems by giving them autonomous optimization ability. So in a way, you will be creating optimizers. And I'm saying that evolution actually made a sort of mistake in a sense that it equipped effectively monkeys or apes, primates, with optimization ability. And that optimization ability got powerful enough to actually understand the evolution. So it actually created something that is actually more powerful than itself. And thereby, I see like an analogy here, like we are creating something, just like evolution was creating, making better monkeys. It actually ended up creating like this, as you see around there. It wasn't evolution's intention to do like planes, trains, and refrigerators. However, we might end up in a similar situation where we just develop better and better machines. However, instead of getting better machines, we might create something completely new, just like evolution created cities.
Is it limiting to see artificial intelligence as just humanoid robots, when in fact intelligence can be almost anything?
The biggest downside actually that I see in this is that we tend to, even when we are developing things that are clearly not human, we tend to anthropomorphize them. And that actually gives us bad predictions about what they're going to do. I mean, intelligence is really about planning and prediction. And you don't really need arms and legs to do that.
What are some of the examples you can cite to sort of suggest that artificial intelligence or human-driven progress has taken over from biology or even evolution?
Medical diagnosis is an interesting area that I'm actually looking into myself, and it's an interesting area in the sense that we already know how to apply machines to get much better health outcomes. However, there is a lot of resistance there to integrate the machines into the system that's ultimately responsible for human lives. And thereby we're actually living with suboptimal health outcomes these days because we haven't found out a really good way how to plug the machines into the process of healthcare.
With the expected proliferation of AI-enabled devices in consumer robotics, what are some of the dangers when it comes to malware or even hacking?
I'm not that afraid of sort of mainstream robotics applications versus like individual research projects that really push the edge. Therefore, I think the consumer household robotics, I wouldn't think them as like really safety critical applications. Perhaps I'm wrong though. so yeah, we have to be alert still.
If we did create an artificial intelligence, how would we be smart enough to know we have?
I'm giving about 50 or over 50% probability of this thing happening this century.
This century?
Yeah. It's like there are several ways to where you can, how you can look at how likely this thing is. For example, there are one way of doing it is to basically look at the progress of computers in general, like what sort of narrow domains of intellectual activity they are able to take over, like the chess and playing Jeopardy and driving cars. And the other way of, or then you try to extrapolate from that, like seeing how long it would take them to reach programming. And the other way of doing that is look at the progress that neuroscience is making, and all the sort of what's called brain-inspired research of AI. And turns out neuroscientists are making a lot of progress in terms of figuring out how exactly human brain functions. And obviously, equipped with that knowledge, you can basically make predictions like how long it will take until we reach the 100% of understanding how and we don't actually need to reach 100% of understanding. It might be enough to reach like 50% and just apply machine learning algorithms for the rest and things like that. So.
Do you think there needs to be legislation to narrow the domains that AI operates in before it's too late?
I think the ones that really push the edge, we should at least think about it, how to make sure that this thing doesn't go out of hand, because the whole idea is that it is intellectual effort that pushes them forward and keeps them in check. So once you load them with enough intelligence, you might not be able to steer this process anymore. So
there seems to be two schools of thought, one suggesting that the intelligence explosion will be rapid and dangerous, one saying that it will be slow and a good thing. What are your thoughts?
No, first of all, what I'm saying is that there are like all sorts of possible scenarios out there. Like some of them are like just disastrous, some of them are like utopian, really good. And we have to be aware of the whole spectrum of things and not get fixated on the utopian side of things, and think about like everything that can happen in between. And yes, like one of the sort of scenarios that Ray Kurzweil is promoting, for example, is yes, that we get this symbiotic relationship between machines and humans, which we already are seeing. Like, I mean, I'm like less of a man without my iPhone, for example. But and I think this thing will increase now that we will get augmented reality and things like that. But this is just one scenario. The other scenario is that we might get self-improving machine intelligence that just gets so smart so fast that we just don't have time to integrate. If it just like increases billionfold in like 24 hours, there's no time to integrate with it.
Did you know when developing Skype that it would challenge those traditional telecommunications models?
Well, it was certainly surprising how well it caught on, but it was really obvious from the like very first weeks that this is something big again, because we had done Gaza before. We couldn't say that we haven't seen such explosion before. But Skype development took about 8 months of the first, like, from the idea to the release of first version, and like during those 8 months, it was just another project. It wasn't something that this is going to be. We had to actually launch it. I still remember that we had problems getting investment before launch, and no problems whatsoever after launch.
Funny that.
I mean, Google is a very famous application of AI. There are things that are common to all intelligences. For example, the drive to acquire resources and to reconfigure the environment. Like if this thing is going to be really slow, then people have time to turn this thing into policy and into politics, actually. And thereby, basically, because this might be like really contentious issue, might end up doing a lot of damage. I think ultimately we want computers, like if we have managed to create something that's greater than us, it should A, understand what we want exactly, like what do we consider a good future, and B, it should want that as well. So if that's what he meant, then I definitely agree. I don't think it's just enough to make them understand us, because like if they understand us completely but want something completely different, then that's bad, and it just means that they would be able to really well manipulate us or control us otherwise. But yes, if they understand what we want and want the same thing, that's I think is the ultimate goal.